Hello everyone, and welcome to another beer review. And if you wonder what's going on in the background, well, I don't bloody know. Because I've had helicopters, I've got church bells, I've got the local mutts and dogs all howling along in unison. Yeah, it's unbelievable, seriously. I don't know what's going on with the blooming helicopters going back and forth like nobody's business. And these buggers, Jesus, with the church bells. I don't know what the heck's going on, but by God, they've been causing no end of problems. So I thought, sod it, I've been waiting for ages. So I thought, I'll just do it and see if I can try and kind of edit them out when I'm editing the video. So today we're back on the German series, and we've got a Marsan Festbier for Hohenthanner. And Hohenthanner is basically it's the brewery from Hohenthanner, and Hohenthanner basically is a Bayern brewery or a Bavaria region brewery. This is a kind of a general kind of Marsan, or you can call it slightly Helles style beer, and it's in the style of Oktoberfest beers. But obviously it's not for Oktoberfest. It is a festival beer that's supplied and sold to anybody that wants to obviously purchase it and serve at their kind of festivals. And it's sold all around Europe, even sold in Russia. And 5.6%, 500ml. I think the average price is roughly about £4 a litre is the average price in Europe when you're buying it. And it's usually sold in a litre mass, that type of thing. So, but yeah, and what is it? It's a bit of a strange one, because that's reported as on the Plato scale, the wort or fermentables, basically, at roughly about 13, but it has been reported as being as low as 12, but they're saying it's 13 on the bottle, but going by the history, it's supposed to be as low as 12, but this is saying it's 13. Maybe it just fluctuates with the ingredients, of course, and they'd have to go with what they can. What else can I tell you about it? Hohenthanner is just kind of north-east of Munich, and it's distributed by obviously the brewery itself, but also distributed by an Austrian company based in Salzburg. So there you go. So that's a kind of interesting one. But yeah, this is what we're going to try. It's part of the kind of Lidl Oktoberfest, which, funnily enough, that whole Oktoberfest box that was sold in Lidl is again supplied and distributed by the Salzburg Austrian distribution company. It's not even the German company that's doing it. So there you go. So let's crack it open and see what it's. And I've got it in my pocket somewhere. There we go. So let's crack it open and see what we've got. Now this is supposed to be more of it's a double fermentation beer. It's hops supposed to be mild. It's supposed to be stronger in the malt than quite a lot of them. It's obviously for this kind of festival Marsan. It's right on the cusp, because it really is kind of 5.7, 5.8 is a kind of maximum kind of alcohol content for this style of festival beer, and it's supposed to be quite a strong amber kind of colour, so it's a kind of a more darker end, and it's supposed to be quite malty, and it's got a few different malts in it, including dark caramel and light caramel malts. So there you go. So let's get this poured and see what it's like. Pouring this well, haven't I? Jesus. But yeah, for people on the podcast, it is quite a dark beer. So I have done my research, and my research has actually informed me correctly, because sometimes it doesn't. but I have done my research about it, and yes, it did say it was a kind of darker kind of amber festival beer, and it is at the stronger end, supposedly flavour wise. And again, they did state that the hops are quite mild and it is more malt forward. So let's have a smell. For people of the podcast, just to let them know, it is quite a dark kind of amberish kind of lager. But it's bordering on kind of, well, it's kind of light amber if you're looking at it from an ale point of view, but it's quite a dark amber if you're looking at it from a lager point of view. It's about 1.5 finger head when I poured it. It's slightly kind of dissipating. Smell wise, I'm getting bread, but I'm getting maybe kind of slightly toasted or roasted bread smell. It's not the kind of doughy, kind of grainy bread smell. It's more of a kind of a toasted bread smell I'm getting. Not getting any hops, getting grain, getting malt, getting a sweetness as well, and getting a little hint of salsa, just that little hint of salsa, kind of tomato salsa. And overall, it actually smells quite nice. So let's see what it tastes like. Right. And bloody bells. Oh, great. Don't know what God's been doing, but by God, he's getting well serenaded tonight. Jesus God. Might as well give up this bloody lark. I really should. There's probably loads of people that are going to be watching saying, yeah, give it up. But yeah, back to the beer. Three things that stand out. First thing that stands out, it is quite malty, which is nice. I like malty. And there's plenty of body in it, so it's a good body to it, good malt. But the thing I do notice is there is no bitterness, nothing really there at the back end, which I'll be totally honest is just maybe slightly causing an imbalance, because it really is all front of the mouth and kind of start of the mid-tongue. It's all kind of, everything's happening there, and it just kind of shies away, and really nothing at the end. You know, it's as I used to say in Scotland, it's all chat up lines and no meat and two veg. It kind of quite up with that, you know. It's everything's all going on at the dance hall, but nothing happening in the bedroom. You know? Yeah, okay. Here's an analogy. I don't know what picture that might, conjure up in your mind, but I hope to God it's better than the one I'm getting. But anyway. Mouthfeel isn't too bad. Carbonation's okay. But yeah, just kind of dies a death in the aftertaste. And it has quite a bit kind of caramel, kind of flavour profiles in the malt. It's quite caramelly in the front of the mouth. But yeah, it just... I mean, I've said this before, that you want beers to be balanced. Now, there's lots of different ways that beers can be balanced. But whatever you're given, you've got to kind of even it out. Whatever's your main flavour profile, you've got to have other flavours to kind of even it out, or it becomes either just too much, or eventually it would just become sickening. And with this, which while I like malt, I really do like malt, and I'm obviously a big promoter of malt in beers, and as much malt as you can get, there has to be something to balance it out, other flavour accents to kind of balance it out, and with this, you're not really getting it. There's a sweetness there which is linked to the malt, which is great, which is fine, and a bit of grain, but it's nearly all malt and sweetness. And I'm not saying it's a sweet beer, but it's still quite sweet. There's still a good level of sweetness there. So you get a good level of sweetness there. You've got the kind of caramel kind of flavours of the malt. You've got a bit of grain, but you've got nothing else. Nothing else to kind of balance it out. And there's just no bitter accents there at all, which it needs. It needs a little bitterness to kind of balance it out, just kind of calm it down and let it settle. And it's not, it's either malt, grain and sweetness or nothing. And that's a problem. While it's quite a nice beer and it starts off with, it just needs, they said that they've basically done it as it's very mild hopped, and it is more of a malt forward, which there's definitely not lying. It needs a bit of bitterness just to kind of balance it out, and it's too much the other way. Just like when I turn around and say, well, you get ones where they over hop beers and it's just too much. It's just too much hops, and just you need to kind of balance it out. Well, this is the same, but it's too much malt, and it needs something to balance it out. And this is a problem. That's why it feels. I mean, for a lager, it's quite malty. For an ale, well, I would probably say it's kind of a good kind of average, a good standard for an ale, malt wise. But if you don't have something to kind of balance it out, it automatically will become too much, just because it needs a bit of balance. As I've said before, it needs a bit of yang to its yin, and it's not getting that. So yeah, let's break down the flavours. Straight away, you're getting malt straight off the bat. Bang, there you go. Malt and sweetness, basically. So the first thing you get is malt, sweetness, and then just as you start to get the grain coming in, this is all at the front of the mouth, you also start to get the kind of caramel, kind of slightly creaminess coming through. So getting malty flavours straight away, big bang, sweetness is right behind it, and then just as the grains start to come in, that's when you get that kind of caramelness coming through. Moves on to the mid tongue, and it really is just the same again, but obviously there's a slight, it's kind of dissipated a bit, so it's a bit lesser, but still to a good intensity. And yeah, and there's plenty of body sitting there, which of course, obviously with a wort with a Plato scale of basically 13.1, I think it was. I mean, you expect it to have body, and you certainly expect it to have obviously malt and everything else. I mean, there's plenty of fermentables in there, and once again, they're using a two-stage mash and everything else to try and draw as much out as possible, and yeah, it's all there. But that's it. I mean, and this mid-tongue just sits there as a kind of a lighter mirror image of the front of the mouth, and then it just sits there until it gets to the aftertaste, which is kind of ironic. Yeah. Moves on to the aftertaste, and yeah, I would probably say the first flavour to kind of dissipate is your grain, which leaves you really the malt and the sweetness, and that just kind of dies off, just kind of dissipates. I'm not going to say dissipates quickly, as in a clean finish. And I'm not going to say it lingers, but it's kind of something in between. It almost lingers, but not quite. But not a particularly clean finish. Bloody fly. But yeah, it's a shame actually, because when I first tasted, I thought, oh, here we go, straight into the ball, boom, 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 and I'm thinking, hopefully, it's got a nice kind of light bitterness. But no, but that's one of the problems that you get with quite a lot of German beers, that they don't really go for the kind of bitterness like the Czechs do. I'm trying to get a hold of a Czech beer right now from Radigas, which is 50 IBUs. I'm trying to get a hold of it. I'm kind of struggling, but I'd like to get a hold of it just to see what that's like. Because remember, if you look at Pilsner Urquell, it's between 37 and 40 IBUs for Pilsner Urquell. So, well, this is at least 10 IBUs, maybe 13 IBUs, or up to 13 IBUs, more bitter. So this is the problem that I sometimes find with German beers, is there's a lack of bitterness. It's as if they're kind of frightened, and they tend to take the kind of soft option in the finish, which is fine if it's not too overly done with the malt. But this is obviously heavily malted, and there's the problem. They're not really getting away with it because there's that lack of balance. You can get away with it if the malt would have been slightly lighter. If this had been maybe down to kind of a 12, maybe 11.5, they might have got away with it. But it being supposed to be 13 on the Plato scale, which of course I've told you that quite a lot of European breweries use the Plato system, and it's very popular in the Czechs, and we've done 10s and we've done 12s. But one of the good things at the 12 that we did, there's a good level of bitterness with the hops, and it just balanced it out. So it was a nice, good bitterness to it, but it was supported by a good malt level and everything else. And of course, it just made it nicely balanced, and it got a good score with that because it was really packing flavour, obviously, for that style of, it's a lager, so it's really packing flavour for a lager. But there was a good balance to it. So you had some good malt, good body, and you also had a nice level of bitterness at the end. And it just, yeah, like I said, was the case. It's like a good book, you know, a good beginning, a good middle, and a good ending. This has got a good beginning, not a bad middle, but the ending's trash. It really is. It's like, oh, Jesus. This is almost like, well, the end was kind of covered it. But yeah. What would I give this out of 10? It's a bit of a shame because I had a little bit more bitterness, though I had a better beer. And it is just a bit too sweet and just a bit too malty, that it just isn't enough there. Which is a shame. Well, I think it's a shame anyway. But again, it is more in the German style. They should maybe have thought about, well, because we really don't go for the bitterness, maybe dial a little bit back. Or maybe use a little bit more of the lighter caramel rather than the darker caramel, because it looks like, as you can see, you can just tell by the colour, they've probably got a decent amount of dark caramel malts in there. So, out of 10, what would I give it? I mean, it is nicely brewed. There's a nice flavour, there's a good amount of alcohol and everything else. Nice mouthfeel. It's just that imbalance that's just kind of spoilt it, and it's just, well, the problem is I can turn around and say, well, it's kind of strange, but again, with the German styles and quite a lot of their lagers, which that's why I think a lot of German lagers can be hit and miss, because there's that kind of imbalance that you just need to give it a little bit of bitterness at the end just to kind of balance it out, and that's one of the things. There's other issues that you can get with German beers, but that's one of the kind of regular ones. What would I give this? Um, I'm torn between 4.5 and 5. And then I'm looking at it, well, you get the kind of premium mainstream piss bottles over here, like Asahi and Estrella and all these nonsense. And I'm thinking, well, they're around about kind of 4.5, maybe bordering 5. And I'll be totally honest, there's still nothing to them. At least there's something to this. And as a maltiness, okay, maybe lacking the bitterness, but there's other parts of it that are a lot nicer and a lot more interesting than that bloody piss water. Notice this is made in Germany. It's a German kind of festival beer from the Bayern region or Bavaria, and yeah, it is that. It's not pretending to be some sort of super dry Japanese wonderful beer brewed in Italy by Peroni. You know, you're thinking, yeah, so I'm kind of being unfair. So if I gave it kind of a 4.5, maybe even a 5. So I mean, it's better than that. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 5.5. I think that's a fairer score. 5.5. It's better than it's way better than standard mainstream pitch waters of kind of Carling, Foster's, Stella Artois, all that kind of crap. It's better than that, and it's nicer to drink than that. And it tastes natural and beer-like and everything else, and actually tastes like it's been brewed properly rather than some sort of concoction made up of chemicals and God knows what else. You know. And as for the kind of premium mainstream piss waters, well, yeah, there's more flavour to it. Again, maybe slightly imbalanced with the flavours, but again, some still nice flavours there. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 5.5. Would I recommend it? Yes, it depending on what you're up against. Would I recommend it with maybe other kind of German beers that are more balanced? No. But would I recommend it compared to some of the disappointments that are promoted? Bloody bells. What time is it now? 6 minutes to 9 and then buggers are still kicking off. Seriously. Don't know what God's been doing, but you're getting well serenaded. But yeah, if you're comparing it to the kind of mainstream piss waters we get in the UK, even they're supposed to be the premium ones, then yes, I would recommend it quite easily. It's something that's natural and it's actually had probably a bit of effort and thought put in it, but it is lacking that bitterness at the end, and I think if they had that bit of bitterness at the end, they would have a far better beer. But again, if they're brewing it for the kind of more German market, which they're not a big fan of bitterness at the end, especially for these type of beers, then you've got to be realistic. You know, they're brewing it for the market and what the market wants. And what I look for and what I want in a beer isn't what a lot of Germans look for wanting a beer. Again, it's all subjective. And the main market is German. They're not making it for old Grammy Poos. They're not saying, oh, we make a beer for you. No, they're not. They think you don't matter. Which I have to concur. They're quite right in saying, if they ever did. But yeah, so you've got to kind of look at it that way. It's subjective, and at the end of the day, they're making it for a market that wants a certain flavour profile. And to a certain degree, this beer is doing exactly that. But for me, I just think if you look at it on a whole, between the Czech kind of beer style and the German beer style, we were just talking about general kind of lagers and things like, you know, Helles, Marzen, all that kind of stuff. I'm not talking about Weiss beers or any of these other type of different things, or Dunkels. That we'll look at them later when we're doing that. We're just talking about kind of standard pale light lagers, that type of stuff. Then for me, I would say there's a far better balance with the Czech style than it is for the German style. But like you say, it's different styles, and sometimes you can maybe get more of a closer comparison to them. Whereas this is, well, this is the other end of the scale. This is completely, if you compare it from what the Czechs are looking to do, this is completely imbalanced compared to what this German brewery is trying to do. So it's all subjective, but yeah, it's not a bad beer, and yeah, 5.5 out of 10. Thanks for watching. Cheers. Bye for now. Enjoy the meals.